You are listening to Chinatown on BBC Radio Manchester, 95.1 FM, DAB and online. I'm Wandita Yao. Andrew Yu is one of the official photographers for Visit Peak District, which is the official Peak District and Derbyshire tourist board. However, Andrew Yu is not earning his living as a photographer, but just a hobby. So how come he becomes developing this photographic hobby then?
Well, photography is strictly a hobby, and I only started doing this hobby some 4 years ago.
Okay.
I went down to London as part of my job, spent 9 months down there. I had nothing to do away from home, so I thought, yeah, let's pick up a camera and see what I can photograph. And I haven't looked back since. It's been a thoroughly entertaining ride to take beautiful pictures.
Okay. Recently, I saw one of the picture that you post on Facebook.
Yep.
It's absolutely beautiful. It's Suffolk Quay.
Yep.
Wow. How do you take that pictures?
Okay. Well, I think I know which one you're talking about. It's possibly of this actual building we're sitting in, Key House, with the sun reflecting in the windows. There's quite a lot of points to consider when it comes to picture making. In my humble opinion, you always need to think about the times of sunset or sunrise, and you always have to look at the weather forecast. It is by no accident I was there taking the picture at that time, because I did a lot of research, the weather forecast for the day, where the sun was going to shine by looking at photographic tools online, and then planning to be in that position to catch the sun shining off the building with a bit of the frost on the floor. Yeah, I do remember that picture, and it's just nice to be there to watch the sun going down, bouncing off this building, and then making a picture that hopefully a lot of people would like, and that involves capturing the light, as it were.
So tell me about, photography. You say it's a Latin word.
Yeah.
Photo means light.
Yeah. So if you break down the word photography, the etymology behind photography is derived from Latin, photons being light, and the graphy part meaning describe. So we can translate it literally, describing of light. So in a lot of photographic elements, especially when it comes to landscape photography, which is something I'm really interested in and passionate about, what makes a beautiful landscape would be light. Light would make or break that picture, and usually the best lighting is during sunrise or sunset, when you have the subtle red glows of the light lighting the foreground, and the sky, if it's got clouds, lovely deep blues or lovely deep reds. That's what makes a beautiful landscape picture.
So when you are taking a picture, how much time you prepare to decide that, this is the moment that I want to take these pictures?
Wow, that's a very good question. Actually, the whole process can last a few days, actually, if anything. So a typical photographic landscape picture making session for me actually involves a lot of steps. What I consider is a reconnaissance phase. So for example, let's take one weekend. I'll go out with the car, maybe with a camera, and actually explore the location, just to have a look at the location. So I could be spending up to a couple of hours on site looking at the location, writing certain notes, just surveying the land. Then the next time I go out, I already know what the location looks like in my mind. Then I'll be checking out the weather forecast, the position where the sun will rise or set. Okay? And on that day, I'll make a decision. Do I do this at sunrise or sunset, depending on the weather? Hopefully, if the weather is great, wait for the sun to come out in a certain position and light up the foreground subjects. And that takes a lot of time. So it's about 85 to 90% preparation, and actually 10% pressing the camera shutter, the camera button. So
yeah.
And this is the usual routine I have. So I always do a lot of preparatory work beforehand, and a lot of it is thinking of what makes a picture a good picture. You need light, you need a strong foreground, and preferably you need a nice background too. And then you need to compose the image in your own mind. Once you've done all that, and there's a term for this, it's called pre-visualization, the rest should be, relatively simple. You turn up and you take that picture that you've imagined in your mind.
But still, you need a good camera, do you? Or equipment?
Well, you know what? I started 4 years ago, and I started with a very basic camera. No, I think, actually, if you have the vision in your mind, providing your camera can take a picture, it doesn't matter what camera equipment you use. You just need a camera, and you need to go and do it. Photography is a very expensive hobby, I have to say, but even with a basic camera, you can still take brilliant pictures.
Obviously, the camera have different functions. Yeah, you've got to know what they call it, the lighting.
Yeah.
What else? The shutter speed.
The shutter speed,
and etc. etc. Yes?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. Okay. So, did you learn photography at all, or you just take up as a hobby, or?
Well, to be honest, I actually only had two to 3 weeks worth of courses. But
most of the time you use a book.
Most of the time I use a book,
internet,
or magazines. Look at some distinguished authors for inspiration. One particular author I looked at, whose work actually inspired me on the ways, is a landscapes travel photographer called David Norton, who I've had the most pleasure of meeting. His work really inspired me on how to take better landscapes and better travel photography. And by looking at different people's work, you can build up ideas by yourself, and then you start to understand what makes a good picture. You can imagine the lighting on a person's face, the depth of field, so the person would stand out and the background behind the person's all blurred out. Things like that can really make a picture, a real picture.
Apart from landscape pictures, you say, do you take a portrait?
Yeah, I do.
So is there any different techniques?
There is. Well, landscapes is in a way static, so you can turn up half an hour and you can wait for things to happen. With portraits, it's a very instantaneous kind of subject, especially if you're capturing children or people. You really do have to, capture that moment within a second. There are no second chances, especially if you're doing, things naturally. With landscapes, you have a lot more time to prepare. With capturing children or people in general, no, there's zero time. You have to wait. You have to be there to capture the right moment in time. It's a different technique altogether. Absolutely.
I see. So is there any plan that you will become a professional photographer?
No, I enjoy my career as an IT architect far too much. And if I did photography on a full-time basis as a professional, I don't think I'd have that motivation or that passion, because it becomes a job. Therefore, there's more pressure. Therefore, you may not enjoy it as much. So that's why I think I'll keep photography purely as a hobby.
Finally, just give us the general tips to produce a good pictures then.
General tips. Before you take that picture, when it comes to landscapes, always think about your composition. Think about what you want to take. Think about the elements that make up that picture. Remember, what makes a good picture: strong foreground elements, potentially strong background, and light. The best times to do any form of landscapes usually would be sunrise and sunset, when the light is soft, and it's also known as the golden hour. Those are usually the best times to do landscape photography. In terms of taking pictures of children and people, you just simply have to be there. Engage with the people, be at their eye level, look at their eyes, because especially when it comes to people, the eyes lead into their soul. So if you engage with the eyes tell a story about that person.
Thanks, Andrew. So if you like to look at Andrew's photos and find out more about him, visit www.andrewyou.co.uk